Well, hello all you wonderful people, and welcome to the Texas Special YouTube channel for this April 2025 HO scale product review. We're going to be taking a look at this Bachmann 50-foot all-door boxcar. Now this is a starter set, train set type freight car. As you can tell, it is an older style of car, mid to late 80s, possibly early 90s. Not super highly detailed, not a whole lot of separately applied details, but it works for what I'm using it for. This car is 100% plastic throughout. The only exception to that rule is the couplers that I installed on here, which I kind of had to get a little creative on the rigging for this, but you'll see that in a moment. And that's pretty much it. Other than that, everything else is 100% plastic. Car still has plastic wheels. I have not gotten around to changing those yet. I figured that being able to couple this up to other equipment was more important than swapping out wheels that quite honestly work just fine for now. And in unrelated news, I found my pointer. Well, one of the two I normally use as a pointer. This is actually a Katie Talgo / spring tool. Talgo adapter thingy and spring tool. Anyway, back to the review at hand. You can see there's loads of molded on or cast on detailing. You have these cast on ladders here, cast on stirrup steps. You have these little ridges here that mimic roll up doors, and there's 3 sets of roll up doors on either side of the car. You have these cool little holes in the car frame. I guess that was to reduce weight or whatever. Even though they are the frictionless type bearings, they're still some very nicely done trucks. As you can see, I was actually able to dig up one of my work lights so I can throw some additional light on this model. You can see the detailing on this thing just a little bit better. You have this cast on ladder here, and these cast on ladder, the full height ladder and this half height ladder, they correspond with each other. So on this end of the car, on the opposite side of the car, there's a little half height ladder, and on this side of the car, opposite end of the car, there is a full height ladder. So here we are looking at the B end of the car. I did a little homework and I figured out that this is actually how you open up the roll-up doors on the prototype. So this is not a handbrake wheel, this is a roll-up door. This is the door mechanism right here. This is the separately applied handbrake. Both of these wheels are separately applied. You have some prototypical lettering here. It's kind of hard to see, even like for me getting up close to it, it's really hard to see. You have some bare bones dreadnought detailing, some cast on brake rigging detailing here leading up to the handbrake wheel, a little brakeman's perch, and a cast on full height ladder here. Now the A end of the car is bare. There's absolutely nothing going on the A end of the car, but I'll show that to you regardless. And here is the boring A end of the car. As I said, absolutely nothing going on, just some of the dreadnought end detailing, and that's it. Yeah. Alright guys, here we are looking at the underside of this car, and I did misspeak. It's not a Bachmann, it is an AHM car. AHM. 50-foot all-door boxcar. Getting back on track, no pun intended. Looking at the underside, you can see there's actually some fairly decent underframe detailing on this car. Obviously, to start off with, you have the the frame of the car, the underframe of the car itself, which of course on the prototype is what actually holds the car together. You have this nicely done cast on plank detailing simulating the individual planks of the wooden floor of the car. You have the air brake triple valve, you have the air brake cylinder and piston, the emergency and service reservoir, and the various assorted lines, air lines and brake rigging detailing that you would expect to see on certainly a newer car, maybe not necessarily one of this vintage, but it is a nice surprise to see a fairly decent amount of detail on the car. I personally find it kind of funny that the underside of this car is a little bit better detailed than the rest of the car, but hey, it's still a good car. It does what I need it to do, and I'm going to show you those that unique coupler rigging that I had to do. So what I did was, we'll zoom in here. Come on. Okay, now that I'm done fighting with the camera, as I said, plastic wheels, but they are actually free rolling. And you see here, this is the original coupler box for the horn hook couplers that came on this thing. Now this thing originally had some horn hook couplers with super long drawbars, and this little kind of keystone looking notch here you see, that was roughly where the coupler was and roughly how the range of which it swung. So what I did was I took a Katy coupler box with a Katy coupler installed and just super glued it to the end of the original coupler box after I cut the coupler off. The very end of the original couplers are still on this car. I didn't feel like fighting with it. I didn't feel like trying to play with coupler height adjustment. So I just said, you know what, the heck with it. It's going to have to be a super long drawbar anyway because of the way the trucks are arranged on this car. And I didn't feel like drilling out holes to reposition the truck, so there you go. I just super glued some Katy coupler boxes with the Katys installed onto the end of the original truck mounted couplers. I would much rather if this thing had body mounted couplers, but you know what, it still works. A friend of mine here in the Beaumont area picked this car up for me at a local train show. The East Texas and Gulf Model Train Club was having one of their regular shows that they have at the Port Arthur Library, and he saw this plus a boxcar we will take a look at a little bit later down the road, and he picked those up for me because he knows that I need more All Door Boxcars for the Clayton County Lumber Facility, and a 60-footer for the Interstate Fuel and Oil Facility, which, like I said, we'll take a look at that 60-footer a little farther down the road. We've looked at all there is to look at on this car other than seeing it actually run on the railroad. I have a short local made up with the Lifelike GP20 that we looked at last month in the locomotive quarterly locomotive review. So we're going to run this guy around the railroad on the main for a full lap, and then I've got a 50-foot box car and to spot up with this 50-foot all-door boxcar at Clayton County Lumber. So we'll get to see how it looks, how it handles the Bachmann switches running through the siding, as well as obviously the switch into the lead for Clayton County Lumber.